Hi, lovely to have you here. Welcome to the Electro Revolution channel. My name is Michael and I'm a car and tech enthusiast. In this episode, what we're going to do is go camping in a BYD Atto 3. Now, we've previously done this in a BYD Seal. If you haven't watched those particular videos, I'll pop them up on the screen now. I do invite you to go watch those. But in this one, because the BYD Atto 3 is a compact SUV, then the experience is quite a lot different. So in this particular episode, what we'll go through is we'll prepare for the trip. I'll show you what sort of things I organize prior to the trip, and that includes cables, and I'll go into detail of the safety kit that I've got in the car, and that's general for any particular car, but it's important to go through. We'll, of course, leave home, we'll start the drive, and then when we reach the site, we'll prepare the cabin space. So I hope if you do consider going for a camping trip and sleeping in your vehicle, then these episodes become really informative for you. And I do hope you enjoy this episode. So we're going to prepare for the trip now, which is going to be done in the Atto 3. Now, the weather isn't that great. It's actually starting to rain. But, by the time we get there, it doesn't really worry us. I mean, camping is camping. End of the day, you have to take care of the elements when you're there. But yeah, I'm just going to take you through right now the Atto 3 in the back area. And, I did do a quick test just to see how this will work, and I'll explain it as I go. So what we first wish to do is open the boot, and I can do that by double pressing on the key fob. Now, as you can see there, I've got a boot liner. I'll actually have to remove that. And similar to the way that the Seal was, you can see there's an incline from the boot area to where we draw down the back seats. So I'll just draw down the back seats so you can see that a bit more clearly. So with just one of the seats drawn down, you can see there that it's quite an incline, and similar to the Seal, you can't actually sleep on that. And with the Seal, I actually put those gym mats to cover that and make it more straight. But there's something special here with the Atto that the Seal doesn't have, and I'll show that after I remove this boot liner. So as we can see, the boot liner has been removed, and here we can see that we pull this up, and that's where the bottom part is, where it just shows you that I've got different things there that I carry, especially when I go on these trips. And one of the special things that the Atto has is, see right here, that essentially means that it'll level out. When I put this on top of here, it'll actually level out this section. So I don't actually need those gym mats, and I'll show you this now. And there you are. It's actually perfectly straight, as you can see. So that's absolutely fantastic. And one of the other things to prepare for is to actually remove this. And that's as simple as just removing that and removing that. And then popping this out. And there we are. Now, when going on these sort of camping trips, the things I do bring with me is usually a spare battery. I've got one of those batteries. They're about 400 watts. They're good to charge phones and do something like that. Not totally necessary with a powered site, but it's good when you're mobile and on the road. And you can use those things instead of the main car battery whenever you need something like that. And another thing I bring is there's a kit I have for emergencies. So if the car does break down, by the small chance it does, then I do have the facility to have blinking lights. I have the facility to put in hazard detections and little road signs, especially in terms of night driving, that I can put these things on the road and over highways with high speed. That's important just to avoid any type of mishaps by other drivers. And it also has a jump charge system specific for EV vehicles, and that just especially with a 12-volt battery, which these BYDs have, if that goes flat or anything like that, I can actually kickstart it, let the car start up on the main battery, and then get to a service station or get to a BYD repair center or something like that in case of emergencies. And of course, we've also got towing. That's the last option. But I do bring these things with me just in case, especially on the long trips. So if anything was to happen, you know, I can take care of most of the things that would cause a breakdown. So these are the things I typically bring, and I'll pop those right under this boot space shortly. And this here is the BYD 1.7 kilowatt charger. That's what you actually get with the vehicle. And here I've got a 30-meter power cable or extension cable. And this is what I use for the on-site power to power the vehicle by plugging that in. An interesting story with this 30-meter cable is, I remember when I went to the first hotel, this is some years ago now, and there was two choices: going down to the nearest public charger, which would have cost me about $30 to charge the vehicle, or buying an extension from Bunnings and charging from the actual room. And I decided to do that. I spent $30 on this cable. I plugged it into the local GPO outlet in the room, ran the cable all the way to the vehicle and charged the vehicle overnight. So by the time I left that particular hotel, I was 100% charged. Which makes sense, because either way, I was going to spend that $30 anyway, and I would rather have spent it on something physical I can enjoy and use for, you know, years to come, instead of just, you know, popping it in as fuel or as charging into a charging unit. Now, just to show you the emergency pack I usually carry around, and you can get these for a couple of $100, but it's important, like, to actually have this. And as you can see, it comes with gloves, different units there. It comes with a fire extinguisher, the vehicle safety kit, which is a first aid kit inside. And this box here has the actual jump start unit. And here, we'll just take a quick look at what this is. And this can sit on the side of the road, just two of them. There's batteries there, and these can just flash to give an indication to other drivers, especially the ones that speed, that there's a vehicle in distress. Now, to just open up what we see here, so I can show you what's in this pack. So just open up this one so I can show you what's in this pack. And there we go. This guy here is the charger. I always make sure that's fully charged before I go on the trip. This one here is for the 12-volt battery that's inside the BYD vehicles. And here are the just charging units with the different sockets that it comes in. So a kit like this is perfect for emergencies. So if you're ever stranded or something happens with the vehicle, you can always use a pack like this to get you out of trouble. So as I said, it comes in a nice carry pack like that. And as you can see, I can put it right under here. So once I put the boot cover on top, it's not a problem. And with these other things, I can just fit them in here. This cable here, it won't move around so much. And that's it. Once I put the cover, all of this will be nice and snug. So we've just stopped off quickly at the shopping centre just to pick up something quick, but it gives me an opportunity. A few minutes ago I left home, and what we can see here on the instrument display is we've got 440 kilometres left, and that's a dynamic range with 94% of vehicle charge. And the regenerative braking is on high, it's on economy mode. And as we can see here, that's the odometer reading, that's the trip A, and that's the trip B. Now I'll use trip A for the trip up, and trip B will be for the trip up and back. And as we can see here, I've added the destination, If I just press there, we can see it's a 1.5 hour trip with 129 kilometers. So now we're almost at the campsite. As we can see here, there's 13 minutes left with 13 kilometers left. I do have it on auto drive, which is why every now and then you'll hear it beep. But as we can see here, 240 kilometers left in the tank, 55%, and we have traveled 118 kilometers since we left. We've arrived at the campsite, and what we can see there, it's 131 kilometers traveled. We've reached here at 5:50 p.m. with 50% charge, and we left at 94%, so not too bad. And right here is where we actually are. So it might be a little dark at the moment, but what we do see here is the vehicle, and we've prepared, just so you can see, we've prepared the bed component here. You might not be able to see it if it was daylight, but this is the bed component. Now, the main things to note here is that the actual pillows are on the back area of the boot, and our feet go to the front area of the passenger seats. So that's different from the BYD Seal, where I could actually have my pillows down where the front seats are and my feet where the boot was. This is opposite. And there's a reason for that, is that you can't actually, if you're a person like me at 5'9", you can't actually put the pillows in the front there because it's just too small. But in this way, it does actually work quite well. And just to use some light so you can see how this is done properly, is just like that. Pillows at the boot end and feet where the passenger side is. And, my guess is this is going to be quite comfortable. The only last note I would make is I'll get to the other side of the car just to show you. In this part here, we actually extend the headrest, as you can see there, and that gives a little bit more support for the feet. So that was the end of episode 1. Now on episode 2, what we'll go through is we'll prepare the car technology, which is essentially the settings on the console and the instrument display, on what you should do prior to going to sleep in the vehicle. We'll of course go through the next morning, how we went. We'll review the night overall. I'll show you a bit around the campsite also to see, the other vehicles that were present during the night. And I'll go through the BYD Atto 3 showroom mode. And I didn't know at the time that the showroom mode was available in the Atto 3. So I tested it and yeah, it was there. And I'll go through that in the next video. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, share this content with someone who'd be interested, or just leave a comment. It really all helps. Until the next episode, I really hope to see you there. Bye for now.